welcome to Bad Movie Beatdown. I'm well known for my reviews of bad action movies and wretched romantic comedies, but when you combine the two, it can only mean one thing. This means war. The romantic comedy has had a major problem for the last several years now: how to attract both sexes. The newest angle for rom-coms is to position them as date night flicks, something for the guys and the girls, and generally doing both poorly. And the traditional route is the action-rom-com, taking all those easily marketable bases: Night and Day, Killers, The Bounty Hunter, The Tourist, and funnily enough, Date Night. And this is certainly true for today's target, This Means War, which combines its genre mix with a high concept hook summed up by its tagline, 2 spies, 1 girl, no rules. That premise, you might be astounded to hear, is what kept the film through at least 2 decades worth of development. Just prior to the film's release, former Simpsons writer Larry Doyle, who you might remember from I Love You Beth Cooper, posted a blog about how he was brought in to rewrite a version all the way back in 1998. The truly terrible script, which he calls perhaps the worst I've ever read that someone had paid cash money for, makes the one that got made look like a masterpiece, with a scene of a screaming man riding a wrecking ball and 2 instances of people overhearing sex noises when it turns out to be something else. Indeed, at this point the 2 protagonists were not even spies, but video game developers that somehow had access to guided missiles, and the roles are for 2 black actors, so the script was full of, quote, impenetrable urban slang that turned out to have been wholly invented by a middle-aged Caucasian. And this script nearly got made, as Doyle was hired 6 weeks before it was going to shoot. Thankfully it didn't, and it passed through virtually every name actor in Hollywood: Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence back in earlier days, and then Seth Rogen, Bradley Cooper, and many others when the races were changed. The credited scripts are attributed to 2 writers: Simon Kinberg, who wrote XXX2, X-Men The Last Stand, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Timothy Dowling, who gave us Just Go With It, so it's clearly of a high pedigree. Likewise, this is directed by McGee, who is as commercial as his name sounds, as a former music video director who did the 2 Charlie's Angels flicks and Terminator Salvation, although the honest thing is that Will Smith is a producer, and it was made through his production company Overbrook Entertainment, in possibly a relic of its earlier days. Originally set to come out on Valentine's Day, Fox chickened out and did a 1-day preview, opening it properly on President's Day weekend, where it did underwhelming business, with Safe House and The Vow stealing its audience, and arrived in 5th behind a Ghost Rider sequel. This was probably due to the scathing reviews: 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 31 on Metacritic, and I even gave it a pre-release kicking on Projector. Really, in America it was a flop, but luckily international audiences came to the rescue and recouped its $65 million budget. But for a movie with such blatantly commercial prospects, how exactly did it end up going into retreat? Let's declare war and discover why. We start in Hong Kong, where 2 spies, FDR and Tuck, played by Chris Pine and Tom Hardy respectively, are on assignment to capture the Heinrich brothers and the MacGuffin they're carrying, and their boss Collins, played by Angela Bassett, feels the need to remind them that their mission is covert, as opposed to those non-covert undercover ops. Immediately you have 2 questions. 1, why is the British accented Tom Hardy working for the American CIA? And number 2, why is the other guy overcompensating by sharing his name with a 32nd President of the United States? Did he have a bout with polio too?
I got some action.
Hi, my name is Xenia.
Please meet you on top. FDR.
So what brings you to Hong Kong?
Pleasure. Business. A little bit of both.
What kind of business are you in?
I am a cruise ship captain of a very large vessel. My small friend here is a kick-ass travel agent.
Permission to come aboard, Captain?
Covert! That means not trying to pick up chicks at the bar. No wonder they have to be reminded they were secret agents. They learned all their spy skills from watching James Bond movies. The Heinrich brothers fly in, Carl and Jonas, the former played by Bad Movie Beatdown regular Till Schweiger, who were doing some sort of business deal that goes south.
I see you brought your baby brother to protect you.
Shots fired. Men down.
And yet, weirdly, no one at the bar, including FDR and Tuck, seemed to notice or care. And the surveillance guys picked that up before they did. Were the biased CIA men too? Oh, but when FDR and Tuck start beating up the entourage and Carl fires a shot in the air, then they notice. A gunfight ensues between the pair and Heinrich's men, and the helicopter pilot gets shot, forcing them to strap on their parachutes. I think everything's happening so quickly it's hard to tell. McGee's knows an action director, but this opening set piece is terrible. The shots cut too fast, the camera's constantly moving so there's no spatial geography, and the whole thing just feels rushed. They might as well have held up a sign saying action scene here for all the coherency it has. Tuck fights Jonas but gets knocked off the roof by Carl and hangs precariously by the ledge. Carl leaves Jonas to finish him as he parachutes off, but FDR comes for his friend's aid and wrestles with Jonas, who drops the MacGuffin that Tuck handily catches, and after ripping a piece of FDR's suit, falls off the skyscraper and smashes into the roof of a moving car. Damn, talk about overkill. No wonder Carl's so miffed.
Heinrich is not gonna be happy.
I'm more concerned about the boss.
Definitely. Hey, you think those girls are still here?
Loads of people are dead, including one of our targets. You nearly got killed, and we completely failed in being in any way secretive, but we still have a chance to score, am I right? Back in LA, Collins immediately suspends Tuck and FDR for their actions and puts them behind desks. Not that it matters since they're both still facing each other. I hope Tuck doesn't keep live ammunition in that spinning pistol. They're also such good friends that Tuck has been practically adopted by FDR's family, and I hate to pull the bromance card, but they really seem to share an unusually close bond.
Hey, Mr. Deep in Thought. You want to talk about it?
Nothing, I just think it's lovely, isn't it? It's really lovely. I love the way that they look into each other's eyes like that.
I'm pretty sure that's the cataracts.
Okay, look, you asked me a serious question. Yeah? Yeah. I know you do anything for me, I'd do anything for you. I know that you would take a bullet for me, I would for you as well, and you know that. Can you imagine what that would be like to share with a woman?
No.
Okay.
What, with a woman? That's ridiculous. I mean, why can't we share a level of commitment and trust with me as your partner? At work, I mean at work, that's totally what I meant, and dude, I'm not gay! In fact, in a seeming attempt to emphasise how straight he is, FDR's apartment is built underneath a rooftop swimming pool so he can ogle bikini-clad women gliding up it. Well, that's kinda creepy. Likewise, it turns out Tuck has a child of his own from a previous marriage called Joe, and there's some dumb feud with an overeager dad who encourages his child to beat the crap out of Joe in karate class. Holy shit, that's not how that works! Of course, once you learn that Tuck has romantic baggage, so to speak, the chances of him getting the girl are approximately 0%, and that's before he's even met her! Anyway, this is the object of desire, Lauren, played by Reese Witherspoon, whose quirky rom-com job is she works as a product tester. Oh, the irony, she's a workaholic that can choose the best saucepan, but when it comes to men, she's hopeless. Of course, there's the even bigger and completely unintentional irony of someone being a product tester in a film that feels like it's been focus grouped and test screened to death. Her feelings of inadequacy aren't helped by the fact that her ex Steve has recently got himself engaged and is doing great, while she's still single and tries to claim she's got a boyfriend. That poor Reese Witherspoon just can't catch a date.
Sushi for one!
Hey, Ken.
The usual?
Yeah.
This is too funny.
Hysterical.
I'm sorry, this is supposed to be your boyfriend's seat, Ken, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, sushi for one. Yeah, always for one.
Maybe you should change your preferred choice of restaurant to one that isn't helmed by racist stereotypes that broadcast your private life to all and sundry. Where they escape from anyway, a badly dubbed 80s kung fu flick. Lauren's best friend is Trish, played by Chelsea Handler, who is clearly meant to be the funny breakout supporting character with the ad-lib one-liners if she wasn't a terrible person who is completely obnoxious and unfunny. For example, without Lauren's permission, Trish signs her up for dating site It's Fate with a lie-filled profile that basically advertises her as a bisexual nymphomaniac. If Trish signed her up, how does it appear on Lauren's computer screen at work? She'd have to know about the page to go there. In fact, why are her co-workers sneaking a look at their boss's office computer? It's none of their bloody business! business. But it just so happens that Tucker's also decided to join the same site and has sent Lauren an invite.
Let me get this straight. You put your personal, private details on a very public website.
Yes.
Are you insane?
No.
I mean, what's the harm? It's not like it's an international terrorist that wants revenge for his brother that might use the information to track me down. It will just make the first days extremely interesting. Tuck and Lauren meet at an Irish pub and have a successful first date, in spite of his repeated double entendres about killing people for a living. Wingman FDR waits for word of how things are going in a very large nearby video rental store. Do you think the script might be a few years out of date? Sadly. The reason for this situation is because Lauren comes in post-date, and because FDR doesn't know what Tuck's date looks like, he starts trying to hit on her. What a coincidence!
The lady vanishes? Why is that?
Well, firstly, you can never go wrong with Hitchcock, ever. It's got comedy, drama, romance, it's a thriller, and it's a little obscure, so if you haven't seen it, you'll thank me for introducing you to it. If you have, you'll know what a good choice it was.
Well, I have seen it. And it is a really good choice. However, not as good as Rebecca and Notorious, or pretty much any of his films from 1960 to 1972. In fact, it's sort of a second-tier title.
Yeah, Hitchcock's films are full of suspense, romance and thrills. What a shame we're watching this movie then. Also, did she just say that Hitchcock's classic period was from 1960 to 1972? Does that mean she considers Topaz to be one of his best? Because that's a controversial opinion. Needless to say, she rebuffs FDR whilst casually renting The Empire Strikes Back for some reason, but that's just some blurred line shit. Instead, FDR decides to go into full-blown stalking, using his CIA connections to hack into the video store records and find her information, and casually shows up at her workplace to have another go, while they're testing grills no less, because the cute repartee is much more obvious when it sounds like girl.
It just so happens I have a lot of experience with grills. I'm something of a grill master.
This is a very sophisticated grill. I'm not sure you've dealt with one of those before.
I don't think a grill like this can handle a guy like me.
I think it could.
8 p.m. tomorrow.
Fine.
You smell nice.
So if you can't get the girl, just pester, embarrass, and generally intimidate her into having a date anyway, because this is charming according to the production notes, and she's only playing hard to get, and it's totally not going to lead to you getting maced in the face and filed a restraining order. So now we've finally squeezed in the premise, we discover the obvious reason why they have desks facing each other, so they can spin around their laptops and then probably have the same picture on both of them. That's the trailer moment.
I had no idea.
No, of course you didn't. How could you know that? Did she actually say she wanted to go out on a date with you, though?
I'm gonna bow out. You date her.
Wait, no, hang on a second. Did she actually say that she wanted to go out
Look,
on a
man,
date?
it doesn't matter.
No, she damn well didn't, because she was dating Tuck. He's not even denying it either as he refuses to bow out. What a shitbag. They set themselves some ground rules, including not telling her they know each other, because more wackiness can happen from that. Stay out of each other's way, though of course they bloody won't. Don't sleep with her, that will test them, and let her decide, which is not if they can help it. Elsewhere, Heinrich goes to Savile Row in London, which he knew to go to because he overheard FDR saying that's where he got his suit from in the opening as he walked past the bar. Yes, the plotting is really that fucking contrived, and takes the torn sample to a tailor who tells me he has a client from LA who wears that fabric. I also like the setting too. You can tell we're in England because apparently not progress past Victorian sweatshops. Get back to work, chimney sweep, or I'll only give you half a shilling. Tuck takes Lauren out for their second date, which includes apparently hiring out an entire gymnasium / arena so they can fly around on a swinging trapeze together completely unaccompanied. What, you never done that on a night out before? Meanwhile, FDR is constantly leaving Tuck messages.
Hey, man, so, you haven't returned my calls for, like, a long time now, like an hour, so, just give me a call if you're okay, okay? Okay. I've said okay now like 5 times.
Hey, you better not be with a woman. I warned you about those creatures. I just want you to come over to my place, you know, hang out, watch some TV together, crash out on the sofa. I'm not gay! Although maybe Tuck's the insecure one, because he tracks FDR's license plate when it's his turn as he takes Lauren out for dinner in a club, but she immediately walks out, and it looks like it's thankfully all over before it even started, given she accurately intuits he has the emotional intelligence of a 15-year-old boy, but the plot once again intervenes when Steve and his fiancée pop up yet again, and she forces FDR to pretend to be her boyfriend. X made suitably uncomfortable, she gives FDR yet another shot. Lying to your cheating ex out of jealousy and spite? Maybe someone shouldn't be throwing around that emotional intelligence line quite so freely. When FDR discovers Tuck was watching him, he's less than pleased about it, and with no sign of either of them backing off, things escalate to the point where they've got their own set of teams to snoop around and deliver intelligence on Lauren's past under the pretext of it being related to the Heinrich case. Yeah, the movie's showing its true ugliness now, not least in this hysterical scene shot entirely in one continuous take, showing Lauren dancing around her home, completely oblivious to Tuck and FDR, who each sneak in and plant bugs around the place in a way that suggests she's both deaf and has no peripheral vision whatsoever. Aside from that, let's count the other ways this scene is wrong. 1. Why would you bug a house with a person inside? 2. If you had to do that, wouldn't you wait until they were asleep? And 3rd, and perhaps most importantly of all, this scene is creepy as shit, and so is this whole movie from the concept up. FDR and Tuck are informed by Collins that they're to intercept a man called Ivan Sokolov, who they have reason to suspect extradited Carl into the LA harbor. Actually, she told them about this earlier in the movie, but they were too busy nosing around with their shared girlfriend than actually doing their job. Professionals! Incidentally, this is the last time that Angela Bassett is seen in this movie. She just straight up disappears around the 40-minute mark, never to return. Bye! They confront Ivan in the back room of a strip club, and it's time for an obligatory set piece because this movie is suddenly remembered it's supposed to be an action flick. And this one is just as bad and incomprehensible as the last, except now they've thrown in flashing lights into the mix to give you even more of a headache. It also once again spills out into a crowded PG-13 no-titty bar because they're awful secret agents before managing to capture Ivan. I hope those 2 minutes of rubbish fighting was enough to Cage to sit through another 30 minutes of crappy rom-com. No? Well, tough shit, you're in for a long haul. FDR and Tuck both individually learn that Lauren has called Trisha over for advice in her situation and go to listen in on it. God, even saying that makes my hair stand up on end. And it's time for even more half-sketched improvised sex jokes.
Oh, I didn't know you had pictures. Give it. Wow,
right?
That's dirty sex. You know when you know you're gonna have dirty sex and it's gonna stink? Not like sex, I mean like man stink, the good stuff.
Well, I'm available as a friend if you want me to
Have sex with both of those guys just to test out stuff and see who comes back
back a winner and who doesn't.
and they wouldn't even know it was me. I would pretend I was you. I just put my hair maybe up in a pony.
Rated PG-13 for dirty man stink. Seriously, these innuendos are totally inappropriate. Also, did she just imply she was going to kind of rape them to test them out on Lauren's behalf? Seriously, what the fuck, movie? That idea thankfully gets poo-pooed, but they soon start comparing men. Totally superficially, of course.
Okay, let me think. Flaws. FDR has these tiny, like, girl hands.
Gross. That means he's got a Mike and Ike for a penis.
And Tuck is British.
What is that supposed to
Okay, so that doesn't mean anything.
That's the same, they're kind of even.
Yeah, I'm with Tuck. What the hell does that even mean? I'm pretty sure a lot of American women have a thing for the accent, you know, just speaking from personal experience. And wait, if they're about even, does that mean she's inferring that British people have tiny penises? Is that what she's referring to? I don't know what the joke is! Lauren sets herself 1 week to decide her suitor, so that calls for a shenanigans montage. Learning she has a thing for classic cars, Tuck takes her on a test drive, but FDR sends a spy drone after them.
Did he just give our bird the bird?
Well, that was out of the exhaust.
Oh.
Well, there goes thousands of dollars worth of government equipment. And Laura must have some serious sight and hearing problems if she didn't see or hear that explosion. Although maybe she's only deaf because Tuck fired the gun directly behind her head. Meanwhile, Lauren is concerned FDR doesn't think about anything by himself, so he tries to show his sensitive side, including showing her works by Austrian painter Gustav Klimt, who she's a fan of for some reason, probably because his Wikipedia page claims his works are marked by a frank eroticism while being fed info through an earpiece. He also takes her out to adopt a dog, because nothing says long-lasting relationship like fundamentally lying about who you are. Fortunately, dogs are trained to smell deceit.
Hey, Snuggles. How are you, bud?
I love these dogs. What's your mouth?
Just a lot of dog hair.
Yeah.
At least shut the cage door, the dogs are running back out otherwise. And how gullible and oblivious does Lauren have to be? Seriously, Reese Witherspoon has an Oscar. She should have more dignity than this.
Okay, what about Tuck? Tuck is great. He's sweet, he's kind. We have so much fun. But he's maybe too sweet, a little earnest, sort of safe.
That's boring. I almost fell asleep just listening to that.
Because when I think of safe and boring, I think of the brooding British guy with tattoos up his arms that played Bane, Bronson, and Mad Max. Tuck interprets this as reveal your inner prick by taking Lauren to a paintball game where he basically uses his training to beat up a lot of civilians who just want to have fun and breaks a shitload of rules like shooting people in the face, but is so confident he doesn't wear his goggles in case someone wants to return the favour, and paint grenades a hut full of small children in his attempt to capture the prize of Lauren, I mean the flag.
Oh my god.
See me light that up? I was on fire. That boy come right out of nowhere.
Okay, you are disturbingly good at this.
Oh, yeah.
I think my triggering mechanism was stuck and I was like trying to get people and...
Safety
Oh, you mean this thing here? Oh my god! Are you okay? Can you walk?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yep, he really deserved that one right in the dick, because that's exactly what he was being, a massive cock. But screw all this personality nonsense, let's just base a decision on the one thing that really matters.
I think I have to do what any rational woman in my position would do.
Break up with them?
Sex tiebreaker.
Oh, thank you! Finally, a sex tiebreaker. That is what you need to do. You have to have sex with both of them.
I'm going to yell sex in a room full of children very loudly because I'm funny and not really annoying. And why does everything in Hollywood come down to sex anyways? Oh, I'm dating a guy who's a habitual liar, but at least he's great in the sack. This puts strain on Tuck and FDR given they agreed not to have sex with her, but that's hardly going to stop them from trying. So when it looks like things with Tuck are heating up at his place, and he apparently lives in a refurbished warehouse or something, FDR activates the sprinkler system, because nothing says friendship like an insurance claim for flood damage. Tuck then returns the favour by shooting FDR with a tranq dart in the neck so that Lauren thinks he fell asleep. That's your tax dollars hard at work, people, for two selfish prats to cock block each other. And if he shot through a window, shouldn't there be broken glass everywhere? Needless to say, it's affecting their friendship as we return to the subplot the movie doesn't care about and might as well not be in it.
I would appreciate it if you do me the courtesy of answering all my terribly boring questions sharpish.
Pliers, really?
Yes, the pliers, really.
Predictable, safe, and boring yet again.
Why don't you tickle Ivan's feet till he talks with your teeny, tiny, itty-bitty jazz hands?
It's funny because they're gonna talk to this guy after it cuts away. And it's a shame the scene doesn't go any further than that, because I really want to see them argue over their dick sizes as they yank out Ivan's teeth. FDR takes Lauren to see his nan, played by Rosemary Harris, aka Aunt May, who regales her with the story of how he lost his birth parents at an early age and they were left to raise him. Aww, that's so sad. He's such a sweetie when he's not trying to extract information or dates out of people. When FDR takes Lauren home, because for some unexplained reason Tuck isn't watching over the surveillance tonight, they immediately start having some hanky-panky right out on the kitchen counter, which the bug guys can see and hear every detail of. You prepare food on that, love. Just yuck. I wish it gives that a good scrub down with a bit of bleach afterwards, because that can't be sanitary.
I slept with him.
Which one?
FDR.
How was it?
Amazing, like 5 times amazing. But I don't know what to do. I'm supposed to go meet Tuck this afternoon, but after last night, I can't see Tuck now.
No, they do it to us all the time, okay?
You think Gloria Steinem got arrested and sat in a jail cell so you could act like a little bitch? You get out there, you get flexible.
I'm pretty sure the feminist movement was not about the right to sleep with two men at the same time behind each other's backs. But it's okay because men do it all the time. Allegedly. Tuck is furious that FDR violated the rules and tries to also use sentimentality to get into her panties by introducing her to his son. The extended cut also adds a token in the awful sequence where Tuck hires actors to play his family, but FDR catches wind of this and replaces them with sleazy deadbeats including David Koechner and Rebel Wilson. This whole moronic 5-minute bit was deleted simply because it was too crude for a PG-13, specifically Koechner claiming the reason for Tuck's nickname was he folded his sack back as a kid like Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs, even quoting the line, "I'd fuck me." You know, I can't see why the MPA objected to that. Or maybe they censored it due to gross stupidity. Anyway, things get quite frisky at Lauren's house as FDR watches on nervously, especially as Tuck starts to locate and destroy the hidden cameras littering the place, but Lauren starts to have reservations, and the scene ends with an ambiguous fade to black. Also, in the last 10 minutes, we've had 3 different fades to black. You know, I'm getting the severe impression that some serious re-editing might have happened at some point. But even sex still can't make Lauren come to a decision, so it's time for the comic relief to suddenly transform into a wise sage.
What do you do when you don't know what to do?
I asked Bob.
Your husband, Bob?
I mean, I know he's fat and ridiculous, but he's my fat and my ridiculous.
Can you fix this?
Hey, buddy. Don't choose the better guy. Choose the guy that's gonna make you the better girl.
What the hell does that even mean? She might as well have said, don't pick the half-decent one, pick the one that'll look prettier on your arm, since it's essentially a foregone conclusion. But the feud has taken a toll on Tuck and FDR's friendship, and they plan on going their separate ways when she invites Tuck out to lunch. But when looking over footage of Tuck's date, FDR notices that Heinrich has been following him and goes off to warn his friend. Uh-oh, the 2 men in Lauren's life are suddenly together and she's got to run off in a panic. Soon after, they get into a completely ridiculous fight scene because they're total idiots, causing loads of property damage across several floors and all the other patrons to flee as they attempt to kill each other. All while Lauren is in the bathroom doing some ad-lib shtick and somehow barely manages to hear any of this. Where are the police in all this? 2 people just tore up and evacuated a restaurant in downtown LA and no one thought of calling 911. I don't care if they're secret agents, this is very public. Arrest them!
I should have killed you in Kandahar when I had the chance. I was only friend keeping you alive in Kandahar, mate.
I was your only friend.
Friend? You 2 know each other?
Lauren.
You 2 know each other. What was this? Some sort of bet? Some sort of game?
You've done
Lauren,
listen,
shut up.
I trusted you.
So she's the one who's angry because the 2 guys she was dating were best friends, as opposed to the boys themselves, who she was 2-time with whilst telling neither one that was the case, and it probably would have all been worse if they didn't know each other. Everyone is in the wrong here. Trish picks up Lauren when suddenly Heinrich and his men appear to capture them. Huzzah! The bad guys finally reappeared in an action movie. Tuck gets a call from Lauren's phone, which is Carl telling him to come to a warehouse unarmed or she's dead.
Go to that warehouse. She's not walking out another week.
What is that?
GPS. I put a sat tracker on her.
You put a sat tracker on her?
Yeah, of course I did, didn't you?
No, of course I didn't. I put a sat tracker on her. That's completely immoral. I put one on her cell phone.
So they didn't just stop at bugging her home without her knowledge or consent. FDR managed to put one inside her. Holy shit, you don't drop that in the middle of a throwaway exchange like that because it ain't funny. That is legitimately terrifying. Stealing a car, the boys catch up with Heinrich's vans and Trish's car, taking out the solitary goon in the back and moving Lauren over to their vehicle.
Trish! Got it!
You know, I think there there were safer ways of getting her out of that situation than crashing and destroying a car and giving her whiplash. They turn a corner and suddenly via a jump cut we're in the middle of a car park for some reason, where they take out two cars whilst rekindling their macho bullshit bonding, and their escapades are actually making the news because Tuck's ex and son are watching it all live. And just as quickly, we're instantly out of the car park and back on the freeway again. What the hell is going on with the editing? Actually, there is kind of a reason for this, and we'll get to that in a moment. As if that jumping around wasn't enough, it just so happens the bridge they're suddenly on is incomplete, forcing them to make an emergency stop. Even the CGI isn't finished. But here comes Carl charging at them in the last bulletproof van, and Lauren tells them the model has a defect that causes the airbag to deploy if they shoot the headlights, which they do, and Carl crashes into an exploding something or other. The wreck smashes towards them after getting much further away, and it's time for a ludicrous who will she pick moment as she decides whose arm she's going to jump into as she stands in the middle of the road like a lemming. Of course, she could choose the third option, death. I'm pretty sure an explosive and crushing demise will be less painful than having a long-term relationship with either of these manipulative creeps. So the cars collide and go over the drop, but who got the girl? Of course it's not Tuck. It is, as it was always blatantly going to be, FDR and Lauren together. That's right, she chose FDR, despite the fact she initially despised him because he stalked his way into a date, has nothing in common with her, and is by far the worst out of either of them. But at least he's prettier.
Does Joe know about this?
No, not yet, but I think he will do in a minute.
So even after he married her and had a kid together, he still didn't tell his first wife what he actually did for a living? Wow, no wonder that relationship didn't work out. But don't feel bad for Tuck, because he's got his ex-wife Kate to hook back up with, so everyone gets a happy ending. Okay, he didn't tell her he was a spy, but that doesn't really change anything. He's still gonna be away a lot. Apparently in Hollywood, if you're a divorcee, you shouldn't find someone new because your ex is your one true love. Personal differences? What are those? So the movie ends with a final scene of them about to go on a mission where FDR gives Tuck the news that him and Lauren are engaged. But there's still some tensions as FDR reveals he slept with Katie long before Tuck first married her, unaware that Tuck didn't actually do the nasty with Lauren. What, did FDR have sex with her when he was 12? But that's not the end of this episode, because the DVD proudly brags about the fact that it contains 3 alternate endings, because nothing says test screen to hell like a bunch of rejected endings. The first isn't really an alternate ending so much as an alternate climax, beginning after the restaurant fight where Lauren is captured in her own car this time and the boys are surrounded by Heinrich's off-screen henchmen. How the hell do they sneak into the restaurant? This reveals the last 10 minutes of the theatrical cut to be an extensive reshoot, as they wake up in the warehouse only referenced in the new ending where Carl plays a game. Lauren has to pick one of them and the other shoots him. It's very easy to see why this was rejected because it's way too convoluted and dark to fit the tone of this airheaded movie. FDR is picked and shot, but Tuck shoots him in the extra magazine holder he keeps on him at all times, but for some reason the baddies didn't take off him and they escape. This must have been a late change as this footage is all over the film's trailer, but most notably, oh look, they run into the car park that popped up randomly in the final cut, which was obviously them trying to keep whatever of the original action shots they could, although it's still only half of the original ending unfortunately, as the press photos and footage in the trailer attest. The second is basically Lauren choosing Tuck instead, even though it's obvious they were never going to use it, as there's nothing to go with it other than FDR sleeping with some air hostess in return. The last one is clearly a joke, but frankly makes the most logical sense, which is that Tuck and FDR choose each other instead. But regardless of whatever way it ends, I declare that this means war should have a nuke dropped on it. This is one of the most uncomfortable rom-coms to come out since, well, The Ugly Truth, and boy does it have ugliness to it, right down to the central conceit, which has flagrant abuse of the Patriot Act act as the basis for humour in a way that's unsettlingly casual and strangely uncritical about. Reese Witherspoon has been this zealously pursued since Fear. Chris Pine and Tom Hardy have good chemistry together, but that's little consolation with what they had to work with. Pine comes off as an abusive, arrogant sleaze that you want to punch off the screen, and Hardy is crazily miscast as the plain one, yet still the best thing about the movie, but this is way beneath him, even if he was only in it to do something lighter. McGee's direction is aggressively awful throughout, from the sex-filled rom-com shtick mostly provided by the heinously unfunny Chelsea Handler, to the inept action sequences that feel slapped on in about 10 minutes and bathe it all in garish, perky colours. In fact, it often feels like an R-rated movie awkwardly shoehorned into being a PG-13. Till Schweiger's bad guy is non-existent, but by far the worst off is Reese Witherspoon, who is basically a prize and has to act so dumb she can't even make a decision, and certainly never makes the right one, which is to run away from them as far as possible, just as everyone should have done from this project, and so should you. It's a movie that will unite men and women just how much they hate it. The action part is clumsy and infrequent, but the rom-com part enough to make you become a paranoid agoraphobic. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere, and I'm gonna have to check this place for bugs.